Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we are here with episode 526 of F5 Live, refreshing technology for Monday, April 15th, 2019. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Google's changing its delivery, PlayStation is changing your ID, and Yahoo is changing its settlement offer. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, on any of our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Mixer, Periscope, Twitch, YouTube Live, or Facebook Live, on any of the podcatchers, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the myriad of others like Spotify and TuneIn, or of course on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There's a couple ways that you can do that. The first is normally on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, but obviously this evening on a Monday, you can go to f5live.tv/join us, and there you can watch us live, chat with us in the studio during the show, let us know your thoughts on the topics as we discuss them. We always like to hear that. If you're not able to join us live, that is okay. You can always go to plughitslive.com/subscribe, and there you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live and the Pilch Point, which will be on in just a little bit. Also, our First Look series, which there'll be new content coming to. Our special events feed, like CES and Collision and things like that, and a whole lot more. And I think that is the spiel. Avram, how are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I had a fun conversation with a business friend today, which is always nice. It's good to hear, friends doing well. So I always like to hear that. I can't wait to, in the future, get into the stuff we talked about. But I can tell our viewers that there will be a lot of product reviews coming very shortly, because we've got some products heading our way from this deal. So it's been a good day. And Wednesday, I go to Houston for the first World Championship, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I have not done that in 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
I can't wait for that one. It is going to be so different than when I was in first. It's so much bigger. I think we had 50 teams at the championship when I was in the last time I was there. This basically takes over a good portion of downtown Houston. We used to do it in the parking lot of Epcot. It is a very different experience. I can't wait to see it. So, anything new and exciting with you? Been working on any projects?
Slowly but surely. We had some busy times, so I haven't been able to work as much on my Raspberry Pi projects as I wanted to. Doing some programming some plugins and apps for work, so that took up some of my time.
Mm-hmm.
So not as I haven't had as much time to do the mechanical stuff as I wanted to do. But I did recently get in. I've in the corner somewhere. The new Google now makes its own sort of AI dongle that you can use with Raspberry Pi. It's and we just ordered one. Recently ordered one, and I got it in. And I want to play with that and see if it can do see if I can make learn how to do some machine learning.
Nice.
I'm really a little bit bored though of companies touting AI for things that are just regular computers, regular computer things, like saying, come on. I mean, we see so many things that are touted as being AI that are just like, okay, we saved your settings to the cloud. A computer determined something. Like, does that mean anything where the computer is doing more thinking than an abacus is now AI?
Yeah, right. There was a lot of that at CES this year, and that was pretty annoying. It's like, no, that's not Yes, a computer made a decision, but based on a very strict set of rules that were determined by a human being. That's not AI. AI is getting to know you and making a different decision for you than for me.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like we really stretch the bounds where anytime a computer makes a decision, all of a sudden it's AI. So like search results are AI because it's trying to find something for you based on a number of criteria. I don't know. I feel like AI is the new cloud.
Yes,
it used to be everything was cloud.
Whether it was
cloud,
or wasn't.
Cloud. Now it's AI.
And
my favorite, the personal cloud. Your hard drive is a personal cloud.
Oh, that one gets me every time. It's like, no, that's the opposite of cloud. Oh.
Right, exactly.
Cloud is technically the opposite of virtual machine. It's not one computer with multiple virtual computers on it. It's multiple computers with the ability to have one virtual computer across it. But whatever. That word has lost all of its meaning. Disruption has lost all of its meaning. Innovation, I think, has lost all of its meaning.
Reinvent.
Yes, we definitely tend to lose the meanings of words in the tech industry pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Oh well. Weird things happen. Let's get down to some news, though. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new Surface, an Xbox, PCs, and more, there is a spring sale going on right now through April 22nd. No special codes necessary, and there are a lot of deals available, from Xbox games up to 65% off. 3 months of the Xbox Game Pass, which we talked about last week, for $1 for all 3 months. You can save on the Xbox and even save some money on the Xbox designer controllers. All available by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So, for those who don't know, the process from the time Google does an update on Android until the time you get it on your device can be significant. In fact, it can be so significant that there are websites that track when you may or may not get especially big updates, but in particular, smaller updates, security patches, and stuff like that, because Google releases it to the manufacturers. The manufacturers may or may not release it to the carriers, and then the carriers will finally release it to you, and there can be a huge gap. We know, there are almost every tech site on the internet has every time a new version of Android, major version of Android comes out that has trackers, in particular for the Samsung phones. When is Samsung going to get the next update? And there can be a big gap. And so especially when it's a smaller update, security updates and things like that, that can be a problem, because, well, security updates, right? It's literally the thing that needs to get to people quickly. And thanks to a find by 9 to 5 Google, it actually looks like Google is working to bring updates out of the deep, dark recesses of the settings menu, which, depending on your manufacturer, can be difficult to find, and putting them directly into the Google Play Store. Now, there are some benefits there. Being in Google Play could mean that they could bypass that whole chain, maybe for smaller updates, maybe not for big ones, but certainly for smaller updates. They may be able to bypass that chain, get security updates to you quicker. But on the other hand, it could mean, since it's in the Play Store, that you might have to have Play services enabled to get updates, which may or may not be a problem for companies who are using Android and not the Open Android project, but Android proper without Google services, and have their own stores or whatever. It may become a problem for them. They may have to switch to the OAP or enable Google Play. I don't know. Do you think that this is if it required Play services, do you think that would be a good move for Google?
I mean, if it meant that people got their update more frequently, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how they're going to make sure that it doesn't break things because of all the customizations that vendors like Samsung do.
Yeah.
But I wish, but I don't know. Maybe there's a way that they can separate. I don't totally understand how the kernel of Android works. Like, could they have it so that to put a skin on Android does not necessarily mean that you have to have a different version of Android.
Correct.
So, I mean, they're launchers all the time. So,
right.
I mean, if Samsung and, I don't know, LG and all these other companies would just build their Android in a way that was, they could have their custom look and feel of their preloaded apps, but they don't have to, I don't know, rewrite the whole operating system so that the OS updates when Google updates it. I mean, it would be nice if it was more like Windows,
right?
Where you've got a million PC vendors and they'll put their own wallpaper on there if they want, their own apps, but they don't do it so that you can't have a Windows update only. Like, imagine the craziness if you could only get a Windows update from Dell.
Right.
Or Lenovo.
Right. Wait, obviously the way Microsoft has done that, right, is that it's the layered approach that Windows has taken especially in the last decade or so. What year is it? No, last 2 decades. Holy cow. Where they've really layered Windows and allowed the hardware vendors to publish their own driver updates through Windows as well, through Windows Update. All of that has made it possible for a really unified Windows Update experience. Maybe Google's working on that too, where Qualcomm and whoever can actually distribute the proper drivers for Android updates on their own, so that there's no concern that, this Qualcomm chip on 9.0.1 has some weird conflict in memory. If they allow that, that would be even better. My fear here, though, is a company like Google, who's constantly under global scrutiny for antitrust, all of a sudden requiring all Android devices to have the Play services. The fact that it ships with Chrome has been enough of a concern.
But I guess the question is, what does ships mean, right? Because other companies that use Android, such as, I don't know exactly, but doesn't Amazon take the OAP or something like that? Or they take the source code and compile it or something?
Yeah, it comes from OAP.
So they don't have a problem.
Nope.
I mean,
but there are a lot of manufacturers that use Android Prime, and not the Open Android project, but Android Prime, and pull the Play services out of it, including the Play Store.
And who does that? Who would you say does that?
It's mostly the ones that we harass all the time, the $40 CVS tablets, things like that, which it seems like the customer that buys that is probably the one that doesn't run updates anyway, so you never know.
I mean, what I don't totally understand, and I think some of these things are a little bit of a secret, is why wouldn't the $40 phone maker want the Play services on there?
It's a fair question, possibly because they're hoping that using their own store, they can generate the revenue that they don't generate from selling the hardware at $40? I have no idea.
If they have a store.
Right.
I mean, you know, because I think some of those cheap ones, they just don't even care. So like,
yeah,
I don't know. I know at one time Google was kind of Google had some standards that you had to follow to be able to put Google Play services, but I'm not sure if that's still true.
And if you wanted to use the Android logo on the device, it had to have the Play Store on it, and those rules are still in place. So I think the number of manufacturers who are doing that are way less than there used to be, and I think the majority of them at this point are probably either going to switch to OAP or bring Play services. It seems like those are the only two options, because it would be crazy to try and run on Android Prime without updates.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there like, aren't there some forks of Android that are used in other countries like China? Where I think they have their own store
that all come off of the OAP. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I guess then those forks would be responsible for their own, for updating via the OAP. But
absolutely.
I mean, I think overall, Google is doing something that's beneficial to the majority of Android users, which is they're giving them potentially a way to get updates in a timely fashion.
Right. Which I think all in all is the most important part. Personally, I think the security of the devices. I mean, look at what happened with iOS 12.2. Was that the one that was like beta, and then all of a sudden they found a security flaw and it was out within hours? They're like, uh-oh. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that Apple can do, the kind of thing that Microsoft on Windows Phone was able to do, because the carriers and the manufacturers had nothing to do with it. Again, because of that layered approach. Maybe Android has been working on that layered approach. Maybe that's the big deal with 9, because there hasn't been 9 wasn't the big revolutionary update that Android has done with a number of the major releases in the past. Maybe that's what they've been working on, is trying to mimic that layered approach so that they could do this. Either way, I think I'm with you. I think the security benefits outweigh any of the other, like Google's enforcing their whatever, because they could point to in this case they could point to both Microsoft and Apple doing the same thing and go, no, this is better, don't worry.
Yeah. Also, frankly, I really wish more I mean, I guess it's not really a problem except for Amazon, but I really wish you could have the Play Store on everything, because what a pain in the butt it is that, like, my son is on his like third or fourth Amazon tablet, and the fact that he can only use Amazon Store is a real problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of companies that don't put stuff in the Amazon Store, even though it wouldn't cost them anything.
Right.
There's a lot of like connected toys,
right,
or whatever, where like, he got one for his birthday, like this toy Minecraft set that you can use to make stop motion videos. It said on the box that you could use it on Amazon, but it's not there.
Oh.
So like, so what do we do? Fortunately, he has my old phone and he uses that for everything else, because he can't use his tablet because it doesn't have the Play Store. So, I think if you have an Android device, it's to your advantage to have the Play Store.
Yeah, I agree. So, I don't think that this is, even if there's that whole, Google flexing its muscle thing that you'll definitely hear from the EU. I mean, they get mad at everything. But even with that, I think this is the better move. This week's Pilch Point with Abram Pilch is proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're building a new PC or upgrading an existing one, Newegg has all the parts and pieces to make it easy for you. From motherboards and processors to monitors and keyboards. They've got a little bit of everything, and they do a number of daily deals. As we're sitting here right now, they've got an Asus on sale, but again, they change every day, so you never know what it's going to be, and it's not always just computer stuff. We've seen refrigerators and all kinds of stuff in the daily deals, so it's worth taking a look, and the best way to do that is by going to pilchpoint.live/newegg. Speaking of laptops, Abram, I believe you've got one next to you.
I do. So this is my show and tell for this week. This laptop is fairly. We've just tested. My review of this is going up this week. Is the HP Spectre X360 13-inch, the newest version. So this has been out for a couple of months, for a little while, but we've just gotten ours and got to review it. And I really want to talk about, for those who are not familiar with this laptop, or at least with the latest version of it, which has gotten some design changes, that this really is a fantastic two-in-one. Perhaps arguably the best consumer two-in-one around. If you want something light and portable, and maybe the best sort of ultrabook around, at least for consumers, if you don't want a business product like a ThinkPad, because it's really got a lot of fantastic features. So first of all, it's 13 inches. 13, as there's a 15-inch version, but this is the 13. Hey, I shut it down before. One thing that's really interesting, by the way, is where they've put the on and on button here. The newest version of the Spectre has these tapered edges. So on one side here you have the power button, and on the other side you have the charging port, the USB-C charging port. Oh. So it's kind of neat actually having your charging port there, because it allows you to sort of have your power plug sort of not really taking up the side, but not in the back.
Yeah, was that at like a 45-degree angle?
Yes.
Awesome.
So right. So these, let me show you again. So here, this is the power button, and on the other side, this is like totally indented there, and on the other side here is the charging port. So what's cool about that is, I think it's kind of a neat design touch too. You don't see that much. It's kind of neat how it has this sort of copper band around it. Uh-huh. So there's two different color schemes actually, and this one I have here is called the Ash Silver. I don't know why they call it silver, because it looks copper. Looks like sort of copper and brown, or maybe, I guess you could say this is kind of a silver. It's sort of it looks more like, this is sort of the ash, and the other sort of like a copper.
Yeah.
But the other color scheme is much better. So this is really nice, but the other one is Poseidon Blue, which is like a sort of a dark slate blue with kind of more of a silver banding, and that's really cool. And you can get it in either one. So besides the look of this, by the way, this is a very light notebook. It's 2.8 pounds, which doesn't make it the lightest in the world, but really quite light. It is, really, it is 0.6 inches thick, which makes it very thin, but you notice that they have not skimped on giving you the one USB Type A port, which is something you don't get on a lot of new super thin notebooks. You get stuck with C only. So, and here you have a Thunderbolt 3 port, and a micro SD card slot. So not a lot of ports, but the ports that you really need. The screen, this one here is the 1080p screen, but it comes in a 4K. It comes in both a 4K and a 1080p, and a 1080p that has HP's SureView, which is the which is basically the thing that sort of limits the viewing angles to keep you from being visually hacked at the coffee shop.
Oh.
But and and this being a two-in-one, of course, it bends back. Um, Now, despite how bright it looks in the looks when I'm showing it to you, the one thing that is a little bit of a downer on this is that the screen is super colorful but not super bright. Uh, the screen came in with like 150% of the sRGB color gamut, which is great, but under 300 nits, which is not terrible. But I'd like to see for a premium notebook like this, something brighter, at least like 350. However, we didn't test the 4K model, which might be quite a lot brighter. Now, what's really the most impressive thing about this notebook, I think, besides the fact that it looks good, colorful screen, the keyboard is pretty good. And it comes with an active stylus.
Yay!
No Microsoft charging you, $100. This comes with extra. It comes with a pretty good active stylus here. It lasts over 12 hours on a charge.
Wow.
So 12 hours and 7 minutes on our battery test, which involves continuous surfing at 150 nits. So you got good battery life in your thin package. You don't have to skimp on the battery life. You've got a really nice selection of ports. You've got a good keyboard. You've got good performance. This is available with a Core i5 or Core i7 processor. This is the i7-8565U. So it is kind of top of the line for a 15-watt processor. And this particular configuration has 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gig SSD, but it's available with up to 16 gigs of RAM and up to a 2 terabyte SSD.
Wow.
This model here, this config here, which is the Core i7 1080p screen, 8 gig and 256, is $11.99 right now. I would recommend spending a bit more to get it with more RAM and bigger SSD, and maybe with 4K, because you'll probably get a better display. On the other hand, the battery life probably won't be as good, so that's the trade-off. But this is a really, really impressive notebook. Highly recommend it to anybody who's looking for something super portable. I think this really stacks up well against the XPS 13. So even if you're not, say, convinced that you need a 2-in-1, you just want to type on it like a laptop, you don't have to bend this back, and you'll still be getting a great keyboard and a colorful screen and a really gorgeous design and long battery life. So really highly recommend the HP Spectre X360 13-inch. There is also a 15-inch, which we've already reviewed and liked at tomshardware.com. But the 15-inch is more expensive and heavier, but it's really made for creative professionals who want discrete graphics and to do some more video editing, whereas this is more of a kind of a general purpose. You can do productivity with it, surf the web, great, probably a really great laptop for students in school. Fine for someone like me who's not really an artiste, and not really playing a lot of PC games. So a really good premium laptop in the HP Spectre X360 13-inch. And you can read more about it later this week on tomshardware.com.
So, okay. Did you say that it was a micro SD card slot on the side?
Yes.
Aww.
I know. It would be nice if they were SD card slots on the side. I see a lot of companies doing this now. I'm really not sure what they're thinking. I guess they're thinking that micro SD is kind of the standard for phones. I'm not even really sure why new DSLRs aren't coming with micro SD, considering that everything is going to micro SD. But Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you do photography, you probably are using full-size SD cards, and that would not be great for you unless your full-size SD card is actually a micro SD card and an adapter, in which case you could just pull it out of the adapter and put it in here.
Right. I. It's funny because when I got this, the Surface Book, one of the big things for me was that it has a full-size SD, because I had several computers in a row that were all micro, and I'm like, oh, come on. And this went back to a full-size, and I'm like, yes, big win for me.
on my current laptop, which is a ThinkPad X1 Carbon, there is like a micro SD card slot, but it's like buried behind a latch or something. So it's like not meant for you to be popping them in and out all the time. I I think that the point of micro SD on some of these laptops, like this one, I honestly don't think that HP or Lenovo or whoever is making it is thinking of it in terms of using a camera and taking pictures off the camera. I think they're thinking of it in terms of memory expansion.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, you only have a 256 gig SSD in this.
That makes sense.
You could put a micro SD card in there, leave it in 24/7, and double your capacity very easily.
Very cheap.
I mean, a 256 gig micro SD card is what, $30?
Yeah, and that's that you're looking at an Ultra. For $30, you're probably going to get a Class 10. You know, they're all so inexpensive today. It's unbelievable.
Right, exactly. So you don't have to spend much to get that. And while I wouldn't install any apps on it.
Right.
If what you're doing is putting photos on it, or music files, or things like that, then the micro SD card is okay.
Yeah.
And that could be a good use of it. Now, what I really wish is that companies like HP and would not sell you a laptop without at least a 512 gigabyte SSD in 2019, because it only costs like $30 to go up from a 256 to a 512 gigabyte SSD, but you cannot upgrade this laptop. So, that is a downside. I mean, although very few Ultrabooks like this, if there are screws on this, they're under these glued on rubber feet. And so while at Tom's Hardware we actually try to open up every laptop to see if it's upgradable, we don't break them. So, at least not on purpose. So, if we see something like that, we just stop. And my guess is, so in other words, you can't upgrade this. There are some notebooks you can buy where there's a nice hatch on the bottom, and you could go and you could buy yourself a 512 gig SSD later, or a gig terabyte SSD later, when you have a little more money or there's a sale. With this, you can't. So your only means to upgrade the storage is going to be to pop in a micro SD card.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't considered that, although in my mind, I always go back to the old days where laptops were spinning drives, and we used a micro SD in one of our laptops for Ready Boost, so that we could make the computer faster. So same general idea, using it as a direct expansion as opposed to using it for temporary in and out storage. That makes sense. Okay. You said that we'll see the article later in the week?
Yes, on tomshardware.com.
Fantastic. Well, always appreciate getting to check out this stuff with you, and I can't wait to see what you bring us next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. Upgrade your game on PC and on console with accessories from Razer, whether you're looking for a new keyboard or a mouse, or webcams, the Razer Phone 2, or full systems. All of it is available from Razer, and right now there are a number of sales, including the Razer Black Widow right now, and a lot of deals on keyboards. And we've got all of those by going to f5live.tv/Razer. All right, so ever since the PlayStation Network came about, users have been asking for the ability to change their PSN IDs. Sony has not been able to do it because they made a pretty amateur database decision early on and used the ID, your human typed in ID, actually as a foreign key, or as a primary key in the database, which makes it a foreign key to everything, including the games you play. There's no like number that identifies you, and your username is just a pretty textual representation of you. It was the primary key, and apparently still is. However, they have put together a process in which they can notify games that the ID has changed. It is the craziest thing I've ever heard, especially from a big company like Sony. But you can now change your PlayStation Network ID. However, here's what you need to know. First is, you can only do it once for free. After the first time, it will cost you. Similar to how Xbox Live was eons ago when they started and had name changes. After it'll cost you after your first one. Also, not every game will work after you change your ID. There is a list of compatible games. There's a list of compatible games that, I don't know, get the notification that you've changed your ID or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how they've band-aided this, but it is definitely what they have done. They have band-aided this, and it is frightening. So, if you have an urgent reason to change your PlayStation Network ID, maybe, you know, it's got some connection to an X or, you know, whatever. If you've got an urgent need to do it, go ahead and do it. If you don't have an urgent need to do it, I wouldn't. Because Sony says on their official website, even the games on the official supported list may still not work. There's always the possibility that there is a situation that was not successfully tested. So even the compatible games may not be.
I'm just blown away by the stupidity of the programming.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I didn't realize that. I'm really blown away by the stupidity of the programming because, look, you know, I'm no Sony programmer genius, but I've made a number of database driven apps in my time, and I always knew that you need to identify stuff by a unique number.
Yes. Nothing, never a string, and certainly not a human entered string.
You know, it's got to be a unique number.
It's like, I mean, it reminds me of all the problems. The reason why, what was it called? Mobile. Dang, I don't remember what the original name was, but what is now called phone number portability, the ability to take your number between carriers. When it was originally pitched just for cell phone companies, the reason why it took so long is because accounts were identified by the phone number. Which was a huge problem. It's why some of the carriers early on charged you if you wanted to change your phone number, because it was actually a massive problem for them to change your cell phone number.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares what the database calls you? I don't care if I'm just number 33 million. It doesn't appear anywhere. What does it matter? Just do it right. Prevent these things.
Yeah, that's really lame. Well, then I echo your advice. You shouldn't, don't do it unless you really need to do it, because it sounds like a really messed up situation.
Yeah, it sounds like even now it's questionable. Even after being publicly released, it sounds like it's still questionable. So, yeah. If it were me, I wouldn't do it until there's enough information out in the wild from people who are doing it going, yes, all of my games still work. It just seems too risky at this point.
Just remember, everyone, computers are programmed by people, and a lot of people take the easy way out and don't program things well. I'll never forget, a few years ago, a friend of my wife's was visiting, and she's a professional developer, and she was having a problem. I forget what airline it was, with like buying an airline ticket,
okay,
because the airline web form would not accept hyphenated last names. Right?
Oh.
It would not accept her hyphenated last name.
Oh, no.
And she called up the airline and she's like, I know you can do better than this. You're like, you can't tell. And they like, their advice to her was just like, don't use your whole last name.
Oh my God. And it's so funny because I know what went wrong. I can tell you exactly how it went wrong.
They used the hyphen as an escape as an escape character.
No, I bet.
They didn't escape it. They used it as a limiter.
I bet there's a regular expression validating that you're not putting like numbers and stuff in there. And they only accepted alphas, capital and lowercase alphas, and they didn't take any special characters into consideration. I've seen that kind of thing before.
Right, completely thoughtless.
Which is the reason why, thankfully now in frameworks, you've just got to validate name. Let somebody smarter than you figure out what a name is and is not.
Yeah.
In that world, the rule is the less lines of code you have to write, the better. Let the smarter people do it for you. So anyway, you can now change your PlayStation ID. I wouldn't do it. I think that's the takeaway. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities, such as Scared to Death, which none of the people involved appear to be. The way it usually works is for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, you play it along with the DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever the movie happens to exist, and laugh. They also do live events, and they've got one coming up in just over a week. This week, April 18th, with a rebroadcast on the 24th, they have Octoman live in theaters nationwide. And to find out what theaters it will be in, to purchase your tickets and to purchase any of the movie commentaries, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. The guy on the cover is smiling. There's no part of this that is scared to death. Anyway, that's not what we're going to do. Let us instead talk about what was a pretty scary situation a couple of years ago when Yahoo announced that 1 billion of their accounts had been breached, and essentially everybody's password that existed in 2013 was out in the wild. 1 billion of them, which is a lot of them. And so it was such a big deal that when they announced it in 2016, that Verizon, who was in the process of purchasing the company, actually asked for a discount and got one. They asked for $1 billion off. They got $350 million off. Okay, that'll work. And so after Verizon bought it, they did their own forensic research and discovered that $1 billion was wrong. It was actually every account. 3+ billion accounts on Yahoo had all been breached, and every password ever was out in the wild. And obviously, as you can expect, a number of lawsuits were filed. They mostly got consolidated into a single class action suit, which Verizon has been desperately trying to solve so that we would not talk about it. And their first attempt was they wanted to pay like 85 million. No, not even. 50 million plus attorney's fees. And a federal judge said, "This must be a joke. Get out of my courtroom." And so they've come back with a new number, which is $117.5 million. It will include, let me find all the stuff. I don't know where any of the stuff is now. It's in here. There we go. 2 years of credit monitoring for all affected accounts, which is everybody. Or if you already pay for credit monitoring, they'll just write you a check for $100 to reimburse you for what you're already paying for. Or maybe you've already got credit monitoring for the next 2 years from one of the many other breaches that you've been involved in. Verizon will give you $100 instead. The class representatives will receive a cash settlement, but you're not one of those, so don't worry about it. And they will also pay for any out-of-pocket costs related to identity theft during this time period. So if somebody got your information, got into your bank and stole money, whatever costs it took you to fix it or whatever, Verizon/Yahoo will help reimburse on. So they are prepared for $117.5 million on that, which, by the way, less than half of the discount they got from Yahoo on the purchase price for the breach. So that is an important number for everybody to remember. $350 and $117. This still has to go in front of a judge. My guess is the judge will also know those two numbers, and there's a likelihood that it'll get kicked back again. Because, again, 3 billion accounts. You and I have talked about this. This is, if not the largest, definitely one of the top 3 largest data breaches of all time.
The thing is, your data is like, you have no privacy. Unfortunately, nobody wants to address this problem. We are living in I don't know if you would call it a post-privacy society, but we are living in a time where where if you're expecting your data not to be breached, then our credit system and our identity system just is broken, because it's far too easy for someone to do identity theft.
Yeah, you don't even need that. To go back to our previous story, you don't even need that primary key, which is our social security number. You don't even need that anymore.
Right. So it's far too easy to have your identity stolen. It's far too difficult to do something about it. There need to be other ways of safeguarding somebody's identity. And all this stuff that they're doing for you is kind of bogus in the first place because first of all, you're entitled to your credit report from one of the three bureaus every, I think, 6 months or at least what one each per year.
I think that's what it
but,
is.
But really, it ought to be on demand. It's your report. It's about you. You should be able to get it every day if you want. Second of all, nobody holds the credit monitoring companies responsible for this because what they're doing is effectively they're slandering you, right? Like if they're saying that you took out these loans or whatever and it was somebody posing as you, then they're harming your reputation.
Yeah.
So like,
wow.
But nobody says, hey, Equifax, I'm holding you responsible. It's always whoever let the data breach, and then
yeah, and even when the data breach was Equifax, they got off with almost nothing.
And so the solution to all this is not really to help you. It's just to push the problem onto you, which is, oh, monitor this, and then you're still going to be up the creek when you find out that somebody's stolen your identity. Now, one thing you can do, which I recommend that people do, is do a credit freeze. You can do a credit freeze on all the major bureaus for free, and then companies who have not had a relationship with you already cannot check your. So that does have some benefits. And then if you are going for a loan, then you have to turn it off. So that's that's an issue.
It's a little extra step that you have to do, but that little extra step is better than all of the things that come with having to constantly monitor and all those problems. Are you still?
When they say they're going to reimburse you, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
like
who knows?
Yeah, I'm here. Reimburse you for what? They're going to reimburse you for your time? Because what usually happens in these cases is you've got to make a million phone calls and beg a million places and send a million letters and get a million reports, and then hopefully, talk to the manager, yell at people, threaten to sue, whatever you need to do to get back whatever was stolen from you, your money, your good name, whatever. And so that's not something that, unless they're going to give you someone to call the credit bureau or call the bank or call whoever it is that has the wrong information about you and wait on the phone and talk to them on your behalf, what are they going to reimburse you?
Right. Because I can guarantee when I cut them an invoice, they're not going to pay it.
So does that mean I can bill, if my identity is stolen and I have to spend 10 hours on the phone, waiting on hold on the phone to fix it, that I can bill them for those 10 hours of my time?
I would.
Right? I mean, so that's, and then of course you'd probably have to prove that your identity was stolen because of Yahoo.
Maybe.
So I don't know. I feel like whatever the settlement is, it's not sufficient. So what if it were 300 million? Where's the money going to go? It's going to go to some lawyers, or are they going to give everybody who had a Yahoo account 25 cents?
Right. Right,
like,
exactly.
I don't see anything that they can give people that really solves the problem because the system is fundamentally broken. At the same time, I love the chutzpah of Verizon asking for a discount.
I know.
I mean,
and they got it.
So what happened if Yahoo said no? I guess were they able to pull out at that point?
Yeah. There was whatever the business equivalent of a morals clause or a surprise clause is. They could have backed out of the purchase, which was, I mean, that was a pretty big purchase for a company that most people had forgotten existed at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think of it like when you're buying a house or something, and I don't know, you went into contract on the house, and then I guess right before closing, you found out that it has termites or something, uh, or asbestos, or
Right.
you found out there's something seriously wrong, um,
Yeah.
and
Undue surprise or whatever the legal term on that is. Yeah.
right,
Oh, yeah. Because what is potentially the largest data breach in history would certainly be the equivalent of a house with both water and termite damage, I think.
but if I were Verizon, I would argue that the $350 million discount was not to cover expenses of dealing with the breach. Uh, it was because now Yahoo is worth less money.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Which is absolutely what it was about. I don't know that they thought that they were going to end up in the position they're in, but I don't know. They didn't get the discount they wanted. They only got 350 instead of $1 billion. So I don't know. It's all very strange. It'll be interesting to follow, though. It'll be very interesting to see what happens next, whether or not the court accepts this offer or says, keep trying, guys, get out. This week's DRM not included in F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You get free shipping, sometimes 2-day, same day, but you also get things like Prime Music, which gives you several million tracks you can listen to for free. Avram's favorite Prime Video, which has movies, TV shows, documentaries, both original and licensed content. Again, part of your subscription. My favorite, which is Twitch Prime, which gives you a free subscription on Twitch. You can subscribe to PLUGHITZ Live or anybody else to help support your favorite streamers. You also get free games every month, and if you're a Switch customer, you've got a Nintendo Switch, you can get a free year of Nintendo Switch Online. And there's more. We've got a list of some of our favorites, and if you're quick links to those services. Plus, if you're not already a subscriber, we've got a free 30-day trial, and you can get all of that by going to f5live.tv/prime. So, we know that YouTube has made a number of changes over the last couple of years. They created YouTube Premium, which was previously known as YouTube Red, to build some subscription revenue. You got ad-free experience and things like that. They created their own original content. Some of it has backfired on them, and but a lot of the original content has worked out for them, especially if you're a premium subscriber. They've also got YouTube TV, which was created as a competitor to services like Sling TV, Hulu with Live, DirecTV Now, services like that. And this week, a number of changes have come into place. The first is in the YouTube Originals. Google has actually confirmed that they are working on like Bandersnatch or You versus Wild style choose-your-own-adventure content for YouTube, which in and of itself is an interesting idea. The ability to create your own path through a story. It's a tried and true method, because children's books come as choose your own adventure all the time, and so it's kind of cool that might be coming to YouTube. But my question is, can I use it? Right? Like, will they make, because YouTube is a creator's platform, so as a creator, can I use the technology that they're developing for a Choose Your Own Adventure series to create my own? because I kind of want to. What do you think, Abram?
That would be cool. I mean, I love the. I think YouTube, by the way, has fantastic tools. One thing I really wish that YouTube would do, maybe they're doing it and I'm just not aware of it. I really wish there was a way that you could have a private label YouTube. Like, just use the YouTube hosting service and the YouTube tool editors and uploader and all that and apps and all that stuff, but be able to pay for hosting and sell your own pre-roll ads or mid-roll ads or whatever.
Yeah,
I think would be a great B2B service.
So kind of like bring the YouTube technology inside of G Suite.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I Google if you're listening. Because I have worked for a number of during the lifetime of YouTube. I've worked for a few different publishing companies, and everybody always says, "Oh man, YouTube is great. It brings a lot of traffic to us, but we don't want to use YouTube as our primary video source because we can't sell the ads, and we don't like the amount of money that we make from YouTube, selling the ad, Google selling the ads." But although obviously there are some people who are making a living on being YouTubers, so I guess it depends who you are. But it's amazing to me that people are actually paying. I'm just looking at this now, the list of premium shows that you get with YouTube Premium. It's amazing to me that people are actually paying to see PewDiePie.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I need to know to say that people shouldn't pay for that service. PewDiePie and Logan Paul, I think. I think we don't. But yeah, it would be nice if their choose your own adventure thing was a tool that everybody could use.
Yeah, I would like it. And by the way, PewDiePie is actually leaving YouTube in favor of another service. He announced it Wednesday, I think. But yeah, anyway, it's actually a big deal for them because he's the #1 subscribed to channel on YouTube, and he's moving to another platform. It's a pretty big deal for them. Anyway. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that, like, as a creator's platform, it's the thing that they do, right? Is they have created a platform for creators to be able to distribute content. If they're going to build the technology, they should make it available to me.
Yeah, I mean,
even if it's not a free thing, like if I have to pay something to be able to create a choose your own adventure story, that would probably be okay. It doesn't, but to develop it, just, like Netflix has developed this technology, and now they're just bringing out their second series on the technology. But YouTube is everybody upload your thing. I think it would make sense if you're going to build the tech, make it available.
Oh man, just think of all the things you could do with it. I mean, forget just like the doing storytelling. Like you could do like a tutorial or a buying guide or something where it's like, oh, you want to know about this? Do that. One of the things that YouTube, I think, was first to do, or if somebody else did it, they were sort of popularized it, was having hot links within the video.
The annotations that are now gone.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was really an innovative thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Shame. You can't do that at all anymore?
No. That's one of the 13 features and services that they have disabled over the last 93 days or whatever it was last week that we talked about. I know.
I really like that, but you
can have cards, which are not quite the same thing, because they're not overlay. Which was the big thing, right? That was the big thing about annotations, was that they were overlay.
Right. And then I guess there's an issue because your overlay might be there the same time as they want to have an ad overlay. I don't know.
Maybe. I know that they never actually built the annotation system for any of the mobile apps.
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's the other thing. It never worked on mobile. I think the idea was it was too big for mobile or whatever. I don't know. So, but anyway, I guess my larger point there is that YouTube has been a pioneer in interactivity in the video. So, yeah, I'd love to see them build a tool that makes this available.
Yeah, it would be like you said, not even just for storytelling. One of the first things that popped into my mind when I was reading that they were doing this, and the reason why I was like, "Ooh, I wonder if they're going to let me do it," is the idea of being able to do like an interactive tutorial or an interactive product review, right? You do your intro to a product review and then say, you know, we did the battery, we did the weight, we did the usability and the keyboard and now you can decide what part of the video you want to go to next. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love something like that.
Yeah, that would be great. So I think, you know, I hope they'll do something like that. It's definitely something that people will want, and you know, I think for it to really catch on, you'll need it to put it into the hands of, you know, of a huge ecosystem of creators.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what they're known for. On the other hand, they've got YouTube TV, which is the opposite of of being a platform for creators. It is just a live TV streaming service. When it launched 2 years ago, it was $35. As of now, it is now $50 if you're an existing subscriber. If you're a new subscriber, it actually looks like it'll be $55, which is what, like a 45% increase, 55% increase, something like that. 45% increase in price in a 2-year time period, which is not unique in this industry. We have seen almost all of the services do this. I think other than Hulu with live TV, I think Sling's gone up. We know DirecTV Now has gone up because we talked about that 2 weeks ago. Because it's gone up so much that there's a lawsuit. Do these streaming companies, do you think, just not understand who their target demographic is? Because they just keep adding new channels, and as the new channels come in, the price goes up, and YouTube TV is officially more expensive than the TV portion of my cable subscription is.
Here's the problem. People are unhappy about how much cable costs. Mm-hmm. But what these companies like YouTube are finding out is that it's not that cable companies are being extremely greedy. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are. But the content providers charge money.
Uh-huh.
So,
and a lot of the contracts are all or nothing. You either have to provide all of our stations to all of your viewers, or you don't get anything.
Right. See, what a stark difference between the music streaming business and the video streaming business. Right? Like the music streaming business, like artists have been like, you know, I don't know if it's not good for the artists, but you know, like for consumers and for distributors like Spotify, the distributors won, right? Like there are all these artists, they're really mad because they don't get paid a lot on Spotify, but they have their content there anyway, right? And people are paying like $15 to $10 a month and can listen to basically all the stuff that they want.
Right.
Now, with video, the price keeps going. Now, obviously, video costs a lot more to make than music, but the cost just keeps going up. And the content creators are the ones who really are setting the costs.
Yeah.
So
if if somebody could, and it's what Sling did, and I don't know if it's still that way, but the big thing about Sling was that there were packages, right? You could say, I just want the core. I just want the 20 basic stations. And it's kind of the way Dish Network worked when I sold it a very long time ago. Well, I guess when we carried it. I don't think anybody ever actually sold it, but that's wrong verb. Anyway, when it was in our product listing, Dish Network worked that way. For $15 a month, you could get your local channels and the like 6 core basics or whatever, and then you could add the animal channels or whatever, the nature channels, and get National Geo and Animal Planet and whatever else. And that, but cable doesn't work that way. There's no a la carte when it comes to cable. You get everything, and then you pay for HBO, Cinemax, and Showtime, or you get nothing. Get out. And the streaming services have been going that same way, this all or nothing thing. And like you said, I think it's the content owners that are requiring it. Comcast saying if you want the local NBC affiliate, you also have to have Animal Planet, or whatever weird rules they have around it, and that's brought the price up significantly, which makes it fall out of the target demo. It's crazy to me. Hopefully, either we have some sort of like bottoming out, right, and the content owners start figuring out that they are ruining the industry, or I guess people just deal with it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to.
I think in the utopian future to come, robots will provide all of our basic needs, our food, our healthcare, our housing, but people will still have to work 50 to 60 hours a week to pay for streaming.
I just almost spit my drink out. Thank you, Avram.
People will have to. So if you're worried that people will not have, a motivation to work, remember that that you could work, a full-time job just to pay for your streaming.
Yes, because Disney Plus is going to cost another $7 a month.
Right. It's just going to add up, right? Like you're going to have to have. Look, I need all these services, and I'm still trying to figure out like when is a good time for me to subscribe to CBS All Access just so I can watch Star Trek season 2 of Star Trek Discovery and then unsubscribe
to binge it at the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to end, right? And then I gotta make sure that it's a time when
you can sit down and watch the whole season.
I could sit down and watch it for 13 hours. Right? And then there's the new Disney Channel coming.
Yep.
And Disney Plus. And then there's DC Universe that I would like to subscribe to. I would like to subscribe to BritBox, which I did a trial of and cancel. I would like there's.
Oh, I went and looked at that one. That's all your fault. I went and did. I get ads for it all the time now.
You can't win, and there's so many. Like I don't, there's a couple shows on Hulu I'd like to watch, but I'm just skipping that because you got to draw a line somewhere. So like, yeah, it's a lot of money, entertainment. But when you think about it, what are you getting for that? If you're getting a channel where you get a lot of shows that you actually watch, it might be worth it.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
The problem is when you have streaming services that have like one show that you want to watch and it's not even on all year.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's why am I paying for this?
Like CBS All Access.
Yeah. Like Netflix, there was a while when I had like suspended my Netflix account, But now, every time I think I'm out of stuff to watch, I finish one show on Netflix, another new original Netflix show comes on that I want to see.
Yep.
So they're churning them out so fast on Netflix that I can't even, like, if the churn stopped, I might unsubscribe, but it keeps going. So now I think eventually we're going to hit peak content, and like Netflix, for example, which is spending at some kind of a deficit right now, is probably going to have a problem and not be able to produce this much content anymore.
Oh, yeah. They're running at a huge deficit. So obviously they've got to change something at some point.
Right. I mean, they might have to maybe they have to bring in ads.
It's what happened to the cable business.
Right. So, but I appreciate the gold rush right now where companies are bringing on all these shows, because there's some good shows there. There's some really good content.
You just
have to pay for it.
Big budget stuff that simply couldn't happen on network or cable anymore.
Well, or maybe because network and cable, maybe they may have the money, but they just don't have the
interest.
I don't know, the daring or whatever, the creative interest. Like,
there's definitely that.
There's so many good shows on Netflix now. I thought I would miss the Marvel shows, but nah. Watch Umbrella Academy.
Right? Oh, so good. Renewed for a second season, by the way.
Yes.
Huzzah.
Yes, exactly. Watch Umbrella Academy. Like, there's your answer. There's just something like that coming up every month.
Yeah. At
least.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a constant thing, and I definitely appreciate it. Well, that is our show. Thank you for those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate it. If you didn't and would like to in the future, normally on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us and join us live in the studio. If you can't join us live, that is okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. And there you will see all of our shows and links to be able to subscribe on Apple or Google or wherever you want to listen. We try to make it as easy as possible. If we are not in a place that you would like us to be, let us know, and we will do our best to make it happen. We will not be on next week because, well, A, it's Easter, and B, I'll be in the air, coming back from the first World Championship in Houston. So no show next week, but we'll be back to normal after that, I hope. And so I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you guys back in 2 weeks. Ciao.